Hey gang. All right, so this video is for Mr. D, who posted a very intelligent and in-depth response to my video about what happened with my attempted surgery on Monday that I was supposed to have for my neck. He's worked in healthcare in benefits, and so he was telling me some of the experiences and tales that he had. So I'm just warning you that some of this may be graphic, but I have a tale to tell. I wish I could get up in front of an audience and tell this with some physical acting because it would be hilarious, but I warned you, but here we go. So this is the tale of what happened to me about a year ago when I went to have prostate surgery. I didn't, my PSAs were fine. Guys, any guys who are watching, that that's what you start watching as you get older. That was fine, but I was having some issues, so I went back and forth with a local urologist for about a year, and he suggested, okay, look, there are a couple of procedures we can do. They're not too hairy. Let's try those first. I weighed the plus and minuses, read about these procedures online, went into some news groups, did my homework, and I said, okay, let's go for this Urolift thing. Go in, everything gets approved, wait a couple weeks, get the surgery, and they give me these, a checklist that you do the night before the surgery. Well, one of the things in the checklist is you do an enema. Now, I've never had an enema, never done an enema, but also let me say that I skipped biology in school. I was a hockey player. I was playing lots of sports. I didn't attend as many classes as I should have. Okay, disclaimer. Okay, great. I'll do the enema night before, the morning of, great. So I assume, silly me, they're going in the back door. So I go down and I'm meeting with the nurse. I change into, the gown. I'm buck naked except for the gown, and she's going through the steps, and she's like, okay, and you did the enema? And I said, yeah, the enema. I did everything else. I haven't eaten since last night. Yes, check. I'm like, so don't worry, it's going to be clean back there. And she goes, oh, well, we're not going in the back door. And I'm like, what? She's like, no, we're going in the front door. And I'm like, what? And she's like, yeah, we go in through the penis. And I'm like, you what? I'm like, that tiny, what? And she's like, yeah. So literally, this is like 5 minutes before I'm going into the operating room. All right, so that's a shock, but silly me, I'm stupid. I should have known this, but whatever. Okay, I just want some relief. Okay, so I'm walking into the operating room. The doctor greets me, and he's like, okay, listen, I have some bad news, not what you want to hear before going in the operating room. He's like, your healthcare company has not approved anesthesia. And I'm like, what? And he's like, yeah. And I'm like, wait a second, do you normally do this with anesthesia? He's like, yes. And I'm like, so he's like, well, the good news is they've approved nitrous oxide, laughing gas. And I'm like, okay. And he's like, but you have to pay for it. I'm like, wait. You normally do this with anesthesia. They've approved laughing gas, but they won't pay for it. I got to pay for it. I'm like, how much is it? He's like, $95. And I'm like, okay, whatever. I'm in the gown. I'm ready to go. And I'm like, okay, and this will work? He's like, well, it's not ideal, but yes, it could work. It's up to you. So stupid me. Okay, fine. Let's go do it. Now, I've been clean and sober for 12 years, so I do not even remotely remember what the feeling of being high was. And I'm quite frankly not really down with it because I like being super clear-headed. So I got a little anxiety going in. I mean, I know what the nitrous oxide thing is, but okay. So we go in and, they put you in stirrups. You're all the way back. They put you in stirrups like, a woman giving birth. So you're completely out of control here. And you're back on the cart, you're back on the gurney, and then the guy's like, okay, take some nitrous oxide. So, okay, look, I'm pretty wound up at this point. I'm pretty anxious and nervous. So I'm bracing myself. I guess that's what most people would do, right? You brace yourself. So I'm bracing myself and I'm trying to take the nitrous in, but I'm also trying to not get too loopy on the nitrous, but I'm just trying to, so the nurse yells at me at some point just as they're about to start. She's like, "You're not breathing." And I'm like, "I'm not breathing in the nitrous." She's like, "No, you're not breathing." And I'm like, "Yeah, that's because I'm holding it back because I'm awaiting this horrendous thing that's about to happen to me." Should have probably called it there. But anyway, she's like, "Take a couple really big hits." I take a couple really big hits. Now I'm like floating like the pink pig in Pink Floyd above the operating table. And also it makes you nauseous, not a feeling you want to be awake and nauseous during an operation, or at least it made me nauseous. So I'm floating up there. So now I'm like measuring my intake of nitrous oxide. I'm like, I'm trying to dose myself, keep the balance of the dose, while this guy is ramming a 2.5 foot rod through there, right? It's like the most heinous thing I have ever, and you can feel everything. Like, sure, you're a little loopy, nitrous and whatever. Plus, I'm still like like this, trying to brace myself, but you feel everything. This goes on for about 15, 20 minutes. And then he goes, "Okay, don't worry, we're almost done." And I'm like, "Oh, thank God." He's like, "Now it's just for the staples." And I'm like, "Staples? Where do the staples go?" I'm like, "Do the staples go through my penis?" And he's like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Oh, dear God, how many staples? 3. So I'm counting those 3 staples, right? I mean, after each staple, I think my soul went through the wall behind me. I am not kidding you. Anyway, it's over. I'm just like, what the hell did I just go through? But again, the healthcare industry, like, they wait till the morning of, okay, but it gets worse because, so I had to have some brain scans done a few months ago. This is before the neck thing when we were trying to, they knew they had to operate on my neck, but we had to do some brain scans first because I was having some issues. And fortunately, that turned out to be nothing major. But they weren't approving it. And I knew I had to get the neck surgery, so I wanted to get this approved because I was going to go on tour, as you all know. And so I said, okay, I'm taking this on my own initiative, and I'm calling my healthcare provider. I get the guy who handles my account. Let's call him Kevin, okay? Because it's an inside joke in our family. Anybody who messes up is called Kevin. So I call Kevin and I'm like, "Hey, Kev, we're trying to get this thing through. Can you help me out here?" And he's like, "Oh, well, it hasn't come through. I haven't seen it." And I'm like, "Really, Kev, for real? Like, you haven't?" He's like, "No, I'm telling you, it hasn't come through yet." He's like, "Listen, sometimes they put the stuff in the computer and hit go, and it doesn't get to us right away. Sometimes it doesn't get to us at all because they don't understand how it works for us. Sometimes they just have to call us. Tell them to call the number on the back of the card. That's what you're doing right now. If they call us and talk to us, it'll help it go much faster. But sometimes it doesn't get to us at all when they hit return, and sometimes they're not doing it properly, and sometimes it just takes a while." I'm like, "Cool." I'm like, "Okay, well, by the way, why did you turn down the anesthesia for my prostate surgery?" And he's like, "What are you talking about?" I'm like, "I had prostate surgery." He's like, "You did?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And they said that they put in for anesthesia and you turned it down, and that's why I had to have nitrous oxide. Anyway, told him the whole story. The guy, because he's a guy, right? So he's like me, he's cringing because I'm giving him way more detail than I'm giving you all because I don't want to be, censored or banned or whatever. And he's freaking losing his mind. And he's like, "Why did you do this?" And I'm like, "Well, they told me that they called you and you didn't." He goes, "We never got this order." He's like, "We never got this order." And he goes, "And we probably would have covered the nitrous oxide." So again, this is the problem with America per Mr. D's comments, that there's a huge disconnect here, okay? A huge disconnect that the doctors, they're blaming the healthcare provider. The healthcare provider may or may not be blaming the doctors, and we're blaming both of them. Now, there's a disconnect, right? We're all not talking directly to each other. There should be a system, A, that we should talk to each other and we should be able to connect better, and that the process, nothing gets lost, okay? That's number one. Number two, if we're paying for healthcare, we should get the health care we pay for, i.e. that the claims should be processed faster and more efficiently once they go in. Plus, doctors need to communicate with the healthcare providers. There needs to be a better symbiosis between them so that us, the patient, do not get lost. There is a lack of respect for the patient. Now, I like my doctors, but as I said in my previous video, my doctor got really saucy with me when I brought this up to him, because I would have had much better service in Norway, where we have, where there is universal health care, the land of my father. I had a great doctor and universal health care in England, and people will tell you it's bad and whatever. Okay, you might have to wait about 6 weeks for an operation, but it's approved when you go into the operating room, and you don't have to deal with all that. Yes, you wait, but when you go in, it's done. How does Norway do this? I know England's having problems with the NHS because, again, rich people get all the money. The money's not going to the services. You had Boris and Nigel Farage telling everybody that the money was all magically going to go into the NHS, which was a lie. In Norway, all the oil and gas money goes back to the state, which then goes to fund services, free education, and free health care. Now, the United States has more resources than Norway. Yes, we have more people, but we have far, far more resources, but those go to contracts to big corporations and rich people. We can do this. It's not Republican. It's not Democrat. It's stupid. It's just stupid. And yes, the government should not be the ones to run this process if it ever came to be, which I doubt it will. But we're paying for health care and we're not getting it. This doesn't work. It's insane. It's stupid. We deserve better. We deserve better. Do not get fooled. Do not be bamboozled by Chinese spy balloons and all the rest of this crap. Yes, okay, that's all important, I guess, okay? But what's more important is your health, our services, the future of our children and the future of our country. And that is not being served by the people in charge. Not the Democrats, not the Republicans, okay? We have to be in charge. We have to demand that we are taken care of and that there is more respect for the people. We, the people. I encourage anybody, go back. I know that our founding fathers were rich dudes who didn't want to pay taxes. I get it. But go back and read the papers by all of our founding fathers, all of the documents, not just the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence, but everything they believed in. It was brilliant, and we are far, far from there right now.